Doug, Trump still denying reality, still tweeting unsubstantiated claims of fraud. His legal team is trying to fight this in the courts, though. Does this have any actual chance of going anywhere?
No, it's increasingly looking like a lost cause, the legal suits. There was a blitz of lawsuits, it's true, filed in nearly a dozen states, from Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Georgia, and Michigan among them. Most of those have been thrown out, dismissed for lack of merit. Others are unlikely to gain any traction. Officials, election officials, many of them Republicans, also told the New York Times newspaper earlier this week that they had found no evidence of significant voter fraud or other irregularities in this presidential election. So what's going on here? Well, some people believe perhaps Donald Trump himself, in the privacy of his own thoughts, has acknowledges that he is on track to have to, if not concede, at least transfer power peacefully, and that he's perhaps already looking ahead to on the horizon to 2024, trying to shore up his base for another presidential run 4 years down the road, which is allowed under the U.S. Constitution. Look, what are some of the scenarios very remote scenarios for still Donald Trump being declared the victor? It could happen perhaps if the state's electors in the Electoral College were to vote on December 14th when the Electoral College convenes. If they were to be faithless, that is, defy the popular vote in their states and vote for Donald Trump instead, he could technically still be declared the winner. And when Congress then tabulates the votes on their own on January 6th, that would be the next big date on the calendar. This is exceedingly unlikely to have enough faithless electors to actually invalidate, overturn the result of the legally cast ballots from the election. You could have it also under the 12th Amendment going to the House of Representatives if there were a tie in the Electoral College under votes. Also exceedingly unlikely at this point. You could have a situation at the end of the day where there are rival slates of electors. That is, states literally send two separate slates of electors, Republican, pro-Trump, pro-Biden. That never happens in American history. I think it's only happened once before in the 19th century, in which case it would come up to the House to decide which electors do you count, the pro-Trump ones, the pro-Biden ones. I would not lose sleep thinking of these scenarios. They are exceedingly unlikely.
Yeah, we'd be talking about a full-blown constitutional crisis at that point. Now, Trump's failure to concede, this is unprecedented, but we haven't seen Joe Biden getting angry or chastising Trump over it. So how is he managing this lack of cooperation?
By basically moving on. He's projecting the aura and authority of a president in waiting. As we know, he's set up his coronavirus task force. He's trying to laser focus on what he has said will be his priorities, aside from the pandemic: health care, education, climate change. So he's acting like a president in the absence of any cooperation so far from the Trump administration, which normally in most presidential after an election, the transition would be formally kicking in with cooperation from the White House to the new incoming administration, freeing up office space, federal funding to help pave the way for a smooth transition. This was done when Obama paved the way for Donald Trump and in every presidency before that. It is not happening right now. Joe Biden, he knows how power works. He's worked in the White House for 8 years as vice president. He's not letting Donald Trump's failure to concede basically put a break in the works of his transition. He's plowing ahead, and he's perhaps even going to be able to rely on some senators, or at least one senator, to help fill him in on the intelligence, because normally he'd be getting the White House intelligence briefing every day. He's not being afforded that either, but he may get that intelligence anyway through senators who are willing to share what they know from the intelligence briefings with him. A very unusual transition, but still a transition that's going ahead. Biden has his eye on the horizon and what happens after January 20th once he is sworn in.
France 24's Douglas Herbert, thank you so much for that analysis.